Hello everyone, my name is Sophia. Welcome to my channel. After you've chosen your yarn and needles, the question arises, how do you cast on stitches? Today I'll show you how to do it using the simple method. This method is called simple, although at first it might not seem like the simplest method. Nevertheless, it is used in 99% of cases. Today I will cast on 20 stitches for a sample to knit a scarf. If you're knitting along with me and planning to make a scarf with me, let me tell you about the yarn I chose. It's Lana Gato Merinocot yarn. It consists of 53% merino wool and 47% cotton. The color of my yarn is 145/96 and there are 125 meters and 50 grams. Size 4 needles are recommended for knitting with this yarn, but I'll use size 3.5 needles. I find them more comfortable. You can use the yarn and needles you have available. I will show you how to calculate the necessary number of stitches based on your sample. Let's start casting on stitches. Every yarn has a tail that leads to the end and another tail that leads to the skein. We need to measure the tail that leads to the end. For 20 stitches, I'll measure about 60 centimeters. If your yarn is thinner than mine, measure a little less. If your yarn is thicker, you can measure a bit more. So, I'm holding the yarn at the point we measured. To begin, I'll wind the yarn around my fingers. First, I'll wrap the yarn around my pinky for tension. I'll wind it towards myself. I'm holding the tail that goes to the end of the yarn. I'm securing the yarn with my pinky and ring fingers. I'll wrap the yarn over my index finger. Next, I'll wrap the yarn away from myself around my thumb. Here's what I have. I'll hold the remaining tail, which goes to the end of the yarn, with my ring and pinky fingers like this. Now I'll take the needles. To cast on stitches, I'll use 2 needles. If you're knitting with larger needles, like size 10, I recommend using just 1 needle. But if you're using smaller needles, like I am, start casting on stitches with 2 needles. This way you won't have to worry about whether your stitches are too tight or too loose. I take the needles and insert them from bottom to top into the loop on my thumb, like this. Then I grab the yarn from the index finger, like this, and I thread this yarn through the loop on the thumb, like this. Now I drop the loop from my thumb and use my thumb to help tighten the stitch on the needles, like this. Let me show you again. I direct the needle tips from bottom to top under the yarn on my thumb. This is the yarn closest to me, like this. I grab the yarn from the index finger and thread it through the loop on the thumb. I drop the loop from my thumb and tighten it. Notice that after casting on the second stitch, there's already a fairly long strand of yarn between the needles and my thumb. To make it easier to continue casting on stitches, I can increase the tension of the yarn on my thumb. To do this, I drop the loop from my thumb and release my ring and pinky fingers. I loop the yarn back over my thumb and pinch the yarn again with my ring and pinky fingers. This is the tail that leads to the end. Now the yarn near the thumb is shorter. I continue casting on stitches. Let me show you again, but without commentary this time. You see, the yarn on the thumb has become long again. I drop and adjust it again. At first, it may be difficult to do this as there's already a lot of yarn to manage and you have to think about many things. But over time, you'll start doing this automatically. Cast on 20 stitches on your own. I believe in you. Once the required number of stitches is cast on, you need to remove one of the needles. Look, I'm holding one needle in my left hand and the other in my right hand. I pull the right hand needle towards myself, holding the stitches on the left hand needle. Now the stitches are on my left needle and the right needle is free. To start knitting, the work needs to be turned so that all the yarn is on the right. Look at these beautiful, even, and most importantly, not too tight stitches we got. In the next video, I'll show you how to knit and purl and how to create a neat edge. In the following video, I'll explain how to calculate the necessary number of stitches for the scarf based on your sample, and after that, we'll start knitting the scarf together. If this video was helpful to you, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Let's knit together. I wish you happy knitting. Bye.